So, ladies and gentlemen, one more time, allow me to extend the warmest of welcome on behalf of the organizers to each and every one of you. Thank you one more time for being here with us, and more especially for your very proactive, your patient, and your very positive participation in this forum. And let me share with you, as a हामी अति नै खुसी पनि किन छौँ towards the final moment भने we thought this is going to be a very, very challenging thing given the timing and many other things to be organizing this conference. However, the turnout of people, the enthusiasm that was shown, and the content that we could hear, the deliberations herein, certainly adds impetus to all the efforts that we've been putting throughout the period of 3 or 4 months. So we just are looking forward to the continuation of this in the days ahead so that we could make forums like this, discourses like this, bigger and take it to newer levels. So said that, ladies and gentlemen, at the very outset of the closing ceremony, let us all take a moment to thank our sponsors without whose support we would not have been able to bring to you this convergence. So Whirling Presents CEO Conference 2022 now is coming to a conclude, ladies and gentlemen. Our title sponsor, Whirling Communications Limited, Whirling Enterprise 360, one-stop IT solutions for enterprise and government organization to connect everyone, everywhere, all the time, connect the unconnected. Strength partner, Shivam Cement. Our valuable contributors, Rashtriya Banijya Bank Limited, Nepal Bank Limited, NIC Asia Bank Limited, Encel Asiata Limited, Lakshmi Bank Limited, Siddhartha Bank Limited, Himalayan Bank Limited. Research partner, Fax Nepal, Fax Research and Analytics. Our valuable contributors, Nepal Telecom, NMB Bank Limited, Muktinath Vikas Bank Limited, and media partner, Fiscal Nepal. And in the very opening moments, I have the pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to invite up on stage a representative from our title sponsor to share with you all a few words. Please welcome Mr. Rajiv Sharma, the CEO, Enterprise Business Whirling Communications Limited. I come back to this again, Mr. Rajiv Sharma, ladies and gentlemen, CEO, Enterprise Business Whirling Communications Limited.
Good evening, everyone, and a big namaste from my side. My name is Rajiv, and I'm sorry I'll be using the English language. Is it better? This will be better. Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry. Yeah, and a big namaste to all of you. As I said, this is Rajiv here from Whirling, and I welcome you all to the first ever CEO conference being organized by MAN. Truly honored to be in your presence. Really, really good to see such powerful presentations during the day by almost all the panelists and so thoughtful discussions. And I could see the solutions also coming. So really, really excited to see and see such more events happening. Whirling has actually partnered for the first time, and we will continue to do this. This is something which really, really excites us. I'll use a little on my notes which I've prepared. So the world has actually changed in the last 2 years, and it has changed big time. But for me, the last 2 months have been really, really, big of changes. And I want to just share a story with you on that. I'm Rajiv, and I just joined Whirling some 5.5 months back. And on 4th of February, I was in a place called Chandragiri, and there I fell on the snow. And when I fell on the snow, I actually twisted my ankle and broken my bones. So my ankle and the bones were broken, right? And it was really, really painful. But a lot of good Samaritans were there who helped me in, kind of coming back to my car. And then I can, actually come back to, my home. And there, I had my plasters done, my surgery done, and I'm kind of walking now. Good part is that a lot of help has actually gone into, making me walk. So I could clearly see what was survival, because when I fell, survival actually came to my mind. And the Samaritans over there really, really helped me. Then came the revival part, which a lot of my family members, my team members, my office people, they all helped me in, kind of reviving and, making me, ensure that, I can work and I can, be productive. And then came the growth part. Growth part is that, when I was able to, kind of start walking, because the doctor said that it is going to take 6 months for me to, kind of stand and deliver something. So in 1.5 months only, I'm here standing in front of you and kind of walking also. That was on the first side. I want to talk about WorldLink, which company which I'm representing here. WorldLink is actually incorporated in the year 1995 by Mr. Dilip Agarwal. It was a very humble beginning. They used to actually sell very low bandwidth internet connectivity on dial-ups. But today they are one of the largest group in Nepal. The group actually talks about payment banks, it talks about IPTVs, it talks about SMS solutions and software services. We are the largest in terms of many things. Largest in ICT, third largest revenue providers, then largest broadband connectivity. We have 6.5 lakh subscribers over there. We have 4,100 corporate clients like yours. Then, the largest backbone on the network, largest employee base, somewhere around 5,500 people work for us. Revenues are touching around 80 millions at this point of time. We're aspiring to grow to 100. Then IPTV, we have around 4,05,000 subscribers. On public Wi-Fi, again, we have more than 15,000 connectivities at this point of time. So all in all, what I'm saying is that this company is started with a very humble beginning, but today we are one of the largest, and we aspire to be very, very big in this space. Coming to the pandemic, which affected everybody. As you remember that, there was a time when a lot of organizations were, in fact, everybody was kind of affected by the pandemic, and WorldLink was also one of them. But at this point of time, we ensured that our customers, they work with us, and we work with them, and all those clients who were smaller in nature, we helped them in, kind of giving them waivers. And the clients who were, who were actually wanting more bandwidth, like the education, like the banks and all, we ensured that we give them more bandwidth at that point of time. Now, this has helped us in actually ensuring that we provide connectivity to everybody, and we make them, come back from the revival as well as, come to this revival part. And that is what we've seen. That is what has happened. Actually, what we are doing now at WorldLink Enterprise and why we are here is we want to convey to you that we have totally transformed ourselves from being an internet company to an IT organization. Today, we are giving IT solutions in almost all the peripheries which is there. So if I was talking to a gentleman just now, and he's from microfinance, and I was telling him that if they have 41 employees, I was telling him how we can make them more productive. We can give them solutions where we can track the person who is going out in the field. We can give them applications. We can give them, data, and we can give them the network. Because network is something which is the key to us. And based on that, we are actually having the products which are being created and all. So if I can have the slide on the three things, the infra. Yeah. The three key elements which are going to be the products for us is one, network, secondly, data, and third is the applications. So in any space or any organization which want connectivity, seamless connectivity, we will be providing them that. If you want data, we are creating 14 data centers in Nepal, and these data centers would be tier 3 data centers, the state-of-the-art ones. And by, I think, 1.5 years, you'll see the first one, the biggest one in Nepal very soon. Then comes applications. You tell us which application would you be interested in, and it will be developed. So the message is that, if you give us a problem, we'll give you a solution to that by giving the connectivity, by giving the data, or by giving the applications, right? And these are the three, pillars which we are investing heavily, and is something which is going to be made available to all of you. So if a bank needs solution around big data, it will be given. If an education organization wants campus Wi-Fi to be done, along with the laptops and other things to be given, or maybe on an OPEX model, it can be worked upon by that. And if there is a hydropower which needs some kind of a connectivity to be given to them, or maybe some kind of alarm system to be created for them, it will be done. Anything and everything which requires productivity enhancement will be worked upon by enterprise business. We have a team of around 60 people right now. We want to take it to around 100 people throughout Nepal. And all these people are actually being trained on ICT and will be available in almost all the regions so that they are available to their clients also, right? And lastly, when I'm just wanting to conclude it, just want to share that, for education, we will be interested in giving the campus Wi-Fi's, surveillance solutions, hardware and hardware to be provided on OPEX. Large bandwidth fulfillment would be done for the education sector. We'll be providing them security solutions. And for hospitals, we'll be again doing HMIS, which is Hospital Management Information System. This is being developed along with an organization, which is a Bangladeshi company. And this is kind of currently being tested in one of the large organizations here. Hotels and tourism, again, we are setting up all-in-one kind of a solution, which will include Wi-Fi, surveillance, ITV, and cloud. And all these offerings would be offered in a cloud or will be offered in a CAPEX or an OPEX basis. For banking, we are doing big data at this point of time with an Indian organization. And we'll be very keen if we can work along with most of you, kind of give you the solutions over there. Lastly, my request to all of you would be if you could share your inputs, if you could share your problem areas, and we will be very, very keen to kind of give you solution on that. I thank you very much for your time, and wishing you all the best for the evening.
Thank you, Rajiv sir. Thank you indeed for this very interesting and comprehensive presentation. Well, it's been a long day, but from the spirits that is being reflected from the audience side, I can see you're not tired at all and very much ready for the rest of the socials that we are looking forward to today. आजको दिन हाम्रो लागि एकदम विशेष छ. I'm sure you feel the same. विशेष in a way कि हामीलाई यो पारिवारिक जमघट जस्तो पनि लागिरहेछ. हाम्रो फ्रेटर्निटीको जमघट र तपाईहरुको बिहानदेखिको एकदम सक्रिय अनि enthusiastic participationले sincerely the smile. Can you see I've been smiling ear to ear from the moment I stepped on this stage because there is so much positivism being reflected from that side. Thank you one more time. So let's hear it for all of you for the great value that you all have added to this conference, to all the participants, from all of us to all of us. Can we hear it? A round of applause, please. And I know you can perform better. Can you? So let's see how better you can do it. To all the participants, ladies and gentlemen, to our fraternity that stands at the center of everything. Well, yes, but still, I stress you can do better. Said this, आजको यो विशेष अवसरमा, to just get things a little more moving, हामीले एउटा विशेष साङ्गीतिक कोसेली तपाईहरुको लागि लिएर आएका छौं. This is by team Nritya Dhwani. Ani performance is based on a traditional dance form called Bharatnatyam. Now we all know Bharatnatyam. Bharatnatyam, usually what happens, it's a kind of an offering to God out of respect. But Bharatnatyam, beyond being a dance form, it in itself is a discipline, a dedication and a lifestyle, and not everybody's piece of cake. Like what management is, not everybody's piece of cake. So this, ladies and gentlemen, marking with much respect to the management fraternity here at this very venue, please welcome the artist Binita Mandal, Anu Lama and Anu Shrestha, team Nritya Dhwani with this Devi Stuti.
Ya teyum tat tattam kitataka dittey ya teyum hit tattam kitatakadam hittam itta takkadai nadararudey itta takkadam hittam itta takkadai nadararudey itta takkadam hittam kitatakadai tattey kitatakadam hittam kitatakadai tattey kitatakadam hittam kitatakadai tattey kitatakadam hittam kitatakadai tattey kitatakadam hittam tadi kitatakadai tattey tadi 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 kitatakadam hittam tatta kitatakadai tattey tattey kitatakadam hittam kitatakadai 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 tattey kitatakadam hittam tadi kitatakadai tattey tadi kitatakadam hittam tadi kitatakadai tattey tadi kitatakadam hittam tadi kitatakadai tattey தடிக்கிட்ட தகதம் திதம் தடிக்கிட்ட தகதை ததை 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 தடிக்கிட்ட தகதம் திதம் கிட்ட தக்கதை தத்தை கிட்ட தக்கதம் திதம் கிட்ட தக்கதை சூழவர் தத்தை கிட்ட தக்கதம் திதம் கிட்ட தக்கதை 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 தத்தை கிட்ட தக்கதம் திதம் தடிக்கிட்ட தக்கதை ததை தடிக்கிட்ட 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 தக்கதா சித்தக்கிட்டஜம் தத்தடி தக்கிட்டஜம் தக்கண்டக்கஜம் தடி தக்கிட்டதும் தக்கட்ட திங்கிட்டதும் தக்க திக்குட்ட திங்கிட்டதும் தான் த்ருக்குட்டக்க தக்க த்ருக்குட்டக்க 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 தக்க த்ருக்குட்டக்க 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 தக்க த்ருக்குட்டக்க த்ருக்குட்டக்க தல்லம் துதும் தக்கடக்கடக்கடும் தத்தை யாலே தையும் தத் தத்தாம் கிட்டத்தக்கதாம்
பெருமாளே பெருமாளே பெருமாளே.
Thank you Nritya Dhoni for that spectacle. र अबको पालोमा हामी आजको दिनभरिका सत्रहरूबाट आएका निचोडहरूलाई संक्षिप्तमा समेट्ने प्रयास गर्दैछौँ र यो फ्लोर हामी सेसन मोडरेटर्सहरूलाई आफ्ना टेकअवेजहरू की टेकअवेजहरू यो आज सबै एन्टायर पार्टिसिपेन्ट्सहरूसँग सेयर गर्नको लागि म ओपन गर्ने अनुमति यहाँहरूसँग चाहन्छु। मोडरेटर्स ज्यूहरूलाई म पालैसँग नाम उद्घोषसँगै पालैसँग माथि आइ की टेकअवेजहरू संक्षिप्तमा सेयर गरिदिनु हुन म अनुरोध गर्दै सर्वप्रथम एडुकेसन सत्रका मोडरेटर किङ्स कलेजका प्रेसिडेन्ट श्री नरोत्तम अर्यालज्यूलाई म पडियममा आमन्त्रण गर्दछु। प्लिज जोइन योर ह्यान्ड्स लेडिज एन्ड जेन्टलमेन फर मिस्टर नरोत्तम अर्याल, द मोडरेटर फ्रम द एडुकेसन सेसन।
Namaste and good evening. नेपालको एजुकेसनको हिस्ट्री little over 100 years ko cha. So it's high time we reflected back to march forward. The context is also really appropriate to reflect on what we have achieved in the last 100 years and how we can envision our education system for the future. हामी फेडरल स्ट्रक्चरमा गएर एजुकेसनको पनि फेडरल सिस्टममा कस्तो खालको एजुकेसन हुन्छ भनेर खासै क्लियर पिक्चर नभइसकेको अवस्था, अलिकति एक्जिक्युसन गरेर हेरेर त्यसको लर्निङ्सहरू पनि आएको छ। सिमिलरली यत्रो ठुलो पेन्डेमिक जसले हामीलाई धेरै लेसन्सहरू पनि सिकाएको छ। सो त्यही कन्टेक्स्टमा हाम्रो डिस्कसन भएको थियो। It was really difficult for us to put the issues into this survival, revival, and growth. So I have tried to put the major elements within these three key themes. Survival लाई चाहिँ हामीले कसरी हेर्यौं भन्दाखेरि हाम्रो फन्डामेन्टल च्यालेन्जेसहरू, क्वेशन्सहरू के छ त आजको दिनमा हाम्रो एजुकेसन सिस्टममा भनेर हेर्दाखेरि one of the major challenges and gaps that we have faced. I think it has really hit on our survival itself. अघि ब्याङ्किङको प्यानलमा पक्कै पनि डिस्कसन भयो होला कि अहिले फरेन एक्सचेन्जमा हाम्रो परेको प्रेसर. One of the sectors that has contributed to that pressure negatively is education. अस्ट्रेलियन एम्बेसीमा भिजाको लागि चाङ छ भनेर अस्ट्रेलियन एम्बेसडरले भनिराख्नु भएको थियो. सो 40 अर्बभन्दा बढी पैसा चाहिँ विगत कति महिनामा मात्रै गइसक्यो भनेर सुनेको थियौँ. So how can we retain to? That's really, really alarming, and that's a very, very, big question to to the survival of our education. Low pass rate. हाम्रो university system ma pass rate भनेको Tribhuvan University, which holds around like more than 80% of the students have pass rate or graduation rate, जम्मा 26% मात्र छ. Disparity, gender disparity, geographical disparity, र ethnic disparity हाम्रो education system मा अत्यन्त critical छ. Disconnectedness from the society, our education, I've been saying this for long, has been completely detached from the society. The education happens in isolation within the boundaries of the four walls of the classroom. It doesn't really recognize our community, its needs, its challenges, and the resources. Teachers are vidwan because they know what's written in the book. And the students are brilliant because they secure grade 4. It doesn't have anything to do with the challenges our community is facing. So I think we have to really rethink and reimagine our education as to how we can connect back to the society. Dropout rate is alarming, especially education ma. Agi मैले higher education को pass rate भने school education ma हेर्नु भयो भने especially government schools ma, public schools which holds again like more than 80% students go to public education. जसमा आज एउटा स्टुडेन्टले 100 स्टुडेन्ट्सले क्लास 1 मा सुरु गर्यो भनेदेखि क्लास 10 जम्मा 58.74% मात्रै जाँदो रहेछ. भने पछाडि रेस्ट अफ द स्टुडेन्ट्स आर लस्ट समवेयर. अर्को अलार्मिङ इस्यु के छ भन्दाखेरि गभर्नमेन्टकै अफिस एउटा एजुकेसन रिभ्यू अफिस भनेर जसले लर्निङ अचिभमेन्ट्सको स्टडी गर्छ. ठुलो स्टडी हुन्छ जसको डेटा हेऱ्यो भने हामी एकदमै जिब्रो काट्नुपर्ने छ. 56% साइन्समा, 47% म्याथ्समा लर्निङको ग्याप के छ भन्दाखेरि त्यो हाम्रो जुन क्लासरुममा जुन क्लास लेभलमा सिक्नुपर्ने हो दे आर नट एबल टु एन्सर or achieve those, learnings. 15देखि 17% ले त basic questions पनि answer गर्न सक्दैन भन्ने study governmentकै छ. So that's really, really critical. अर्को alarming के लाग्यो भन्दाखेरि enrollment हामीले हेऱ्यौँ भने जम्मा 14.42% छ हाम्रो university system मा compared to developing countries को 26% को average मा. हामीले अझै ठुलो ग्याप छ. Whereas त्यो भन्दा पनि अर्को इन्ट्रेस्टिङ कुरा चाहिँ फ्याक्ट चाहिँ तपाईँले युजिसीको रिपोर्ट हेर्नुभयो भने almost like 50% of students go to management education. Maybe Management Association of Nepal को लागि एकदमै good news होला, but then is that really a good news for the society at large? किनभने जुन skills र expertise अरू एरियाजमा हामीलाई चाहिने थियो कि are we able to supply that skills and expertise भन्ने ठुलो क्वेसन छ. यत्रो पेन्डेमिक भयो, भूकम्प आयो, हाम्रो एजुकेसन कम्प्लिटली हल्टेड हैन. हामी त्यो रिजिलियन्स हामीले डेभलप गरेकै छैनौँ. त्योभन्दा नि ठुलो कुरा अब पेन्डेमिक गयो फेरि त्यो चासो पनि गयो. सो क्यान वी think about resilient system, education system, resilient infrastructure, resilient education system so that we can continue our education during the crisis as well, because Nepal is really prone to such crisis. So revival को लागि के गर्न सकिन्छ? Sorry, I am taking too much of time. त्यो challenges सँगै revive चाहिँ अब कसरी गर्ने त भनेर हेर्यो भने चाहिँ नेपालको डेभलपमेन्ट एस्पिरेसनसम्म हाम्रो एजुकेसन अलाइन भएको छैन. नेपालको डेभलपमेन्ट एस्पिरेसन्स भनेको चाहिँ गरिबी निवारण, इकोनोमिक ग्रोथ, पोभर्टी अलिभिएसन भन्ने छ भने हाम्रो एजुकेसन त्यता छ कि छैन हामी हेर्न सक्छौँ. फोकसिङ अन क्यापेसिटी, लिडरसिप र टिचरको क्यापेसिटी डेभलप नभएसम्म एजुकेसनमा हामीले फड्को मार्न सक्दैनौँ. पेडागोजिकल इनोभेसन नभएसम्म करिकुलमलाई रिडिजाइन गर्नको लागि अहिलेको करिकुलम के छ भने व्हेन वी से करिकुलम इट्स अबाउट कन्टेन्ट इट्स अबाउट लाइक असेसमेन्ट अफ कोर्स पेडागोजी एज वेल दो लाइक आई हेभ पुट इट सेपरेटली सो करिकुलम हाम्रो कन्टेक्स्ट अनुसारको भएन अघि नै मैले भनिसकेँ होइन र करिकुलम डिभर्स र स्टुडेन्ट्सहरूलाई चोइस छैन फ्रिडम टु चुज डिभर्स सेट अफ र इनोभेसन छैन इन्टरडिसिप्लिनरी छैन त्यही कारणले क्यान वी रिडिजाइन आवर करिकुलम टु सुट टु द निड्स अफ द स्टुडेन्ट्स एन्ड द मार्केट इम्प्लोएबिलिटीको ग्याप ठुलो छ किनभने हजारौँ स्टुडेन्ट्सहरू डिग्री लिएर बसेको छ तर यहाँ यत्रो धेरै सिइओ साहबहरू हुनुहुन्छ जसमा तपाईँहरूले थाहा पाउनुहुन्छ कि कति इम्प्लोएबल छन् उनीहरूले त्यो जब कतिको गर्न सक्छन् भनेर पब्लिक एजुकेसनलाई टप प्रायोरिटीमा हामीले राख्नुपर्छ अघि नै भन्यो त्रिभुवन युनिभर्सिटीमा 80% स्टुडेन्ट जान्छ अनि पब्लिक एजुकेसनमा 80% स्टुडेन्ट जान्छ भने हामीले त्यहाँ फोकस गर्नै पर्ने हुन्छ र कम्युनिटीसँग कोवर्क गर्न आई मिन कोलाबोरेसनमा काम गर्नुपर्ने र पब्लिक प्राइभेट पार्टनरसिप गर्नुपर्ने हुन्छ सो अब मुभिङ फरवर्ड हाउ क्यान वी ग्रो ओन्ली 3 थिङ्स अगेन अघि मैले भनेको जस्तै पेन्डेमिक हेज टट अस lot of lessons. One of the big lessons and maybe the brighter side of that के हो भन्दाखेरि टेक्नोलोजीको एक्सेलरेसन टेक्नोलोजीको अडप्सन यो सबै कुरा भएको छ आई थिङ्क लाइक विभूषणको सेसनमा भएको थियो होला टेक्नोलोजीको सेसनमा डिस्कसन टेक्नोलोजीलाई अब डिजिटल इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर कसरी पुर्याउने सबैतिर र सो द्याट हामीले त्यो टेक्नोलोजीलाई लेभरेज गरेर अघिको ग्याप पनि कसरी परिपूर्ति गर्न सक्छौँ मेबी नेपाली डायस्पोरा संसारभरि बसेको लागि पनि नेपालसँग कसरी जोड्न सक्छौँ एजुकेसनमा पिपल आर रेडी टु कन्ट्रिब्युट सिमिलरली अब त्यो बाहिर जाने स्टुडेन्ट्सलाई मात्र पनि रोक्न सक्यौँ भने लाखौँ सङ्ख्यामा हाम्रो विद्यार्थीहरू बाहिर गइराखेको छौँ भने देयर इज एन अपर्च्युनिटी टु ग्रो टेक्नोलोजीको कुरा गर्दाखेरि वी हेभ सिन आई मिन रियली यु नो सर्जन्स अफ एडटेक अहिले यति धेरै इ लर्निङको कुराहरू छ सो लास्ट बट नट द लेस्ट अनलेस एन्ड अन्टिल अघि हामीले नम्बरको कुरा गऱ्यौँ माथि दुईवटा भने वी हेभ टु वर्क अन द क्वालिटी अफ एजुकेसन्स so that we can grow both in terms of quality and quantity. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. Have a great evening ahead. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you indeed. Next, my pleasure to invite upon stage the moderator of the infrastructure session, Mr. Ramkrishna Kathiora, CEO, NIFRA.
हाम्रो सेसन इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर आफैमा के हो भने ब्रोडर र लार्जर टपिक त्यो टपिकमा 1.5 घन्टाको 2 घन्टाको डिस्कसनले अभियसली लार्जर हामीले रिओरिएन्टेड त गर्न सक्दैनौँ तर हामीले हाम्रो इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर सेसनबाट चाहिँ के हामीले पाएका छौँ भने रिइन्जिनियरिङ म्यानेजमेन्टलाई हाम्रो थिङ्किङलाई अलिकति चेन्ज गर्नुपर्ने छ जुन थिङ्किङ हामीले डेभलप कन्ट्रिज आर रिच सो दे डु ह्याभ बेटर इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चरबाट इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर बन्यो भने चाहिँ अनि रिच हुने हो त्यो रिओरिएन्टेसन गर्न सकियो भने बल्ल हामी रिइन्जिनियरिङमा जान सक्छौँ त्यसको लागि हाम्रो रिओरिएन्टेसनमा चेन्जेस ल्याउनु पऱ्यो इन्स्टिट्युसनल फ्रेमवर्कमा काम गर्नु पऱ्यो प्रोसेसेस र प्रोसिड्योरलाई अझ स्ट्रेन्थेन गर्नु पऱ्यो र इन्स्ट्रुमेन्टमा जानु पऱ्यो यो चाहिँ बेसिक हाम्रो जुन थिम थियो त्यही थिमको रिइन्जिनियरिङ भयो अब स्पेसली सर्भाइभलको केसमा डिफ्रेन्ट इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर सेक्टर डिफ्रेन्ट डोमेन स्पेसल्ली हाइड्रो पावरको सर्भाइभलको केसमा बिकज अफ रेगुलेटरी फ्रेमवर्क बिकज अफ ब्याङ्केबल पिपिए हाइड्रो पावर सेक्टर आर क्वाइट सर्भाइभड किनकि उनीहरूसँग एउटा पोलिसी फ्रेमवर्क थियो उनीहरूसँग एउटा के हो त भने फाइनेन्सिङ एरेन्जमेन्ट गर्नको लागि इन्स्टिट्युसनल फ्रेमवर्क थियो भनेपछि हाइड्रो पावर बाहेक अरू सेक्टरको लागि हामीलाई के हो त यदि हामीले ग्रोथ गर्ने हो अथवा रिभाइभल गर्ने हो भने त्यही लेभलको इन्स्टिट्युसनल फ्रेमवर्क र सेक्टरल पोलिसीको रिक्वायरमेन्ट हामीले पायौँ त्यसपछि गभर्मेन्ट एन्ड द डेभलपमेन्ट पार्टनर जुन अब मोस्ट अफ द अपार्ट फ्रम हाइड्रो पावर बेसिक इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर अफ द क्रिटिकल इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर लाइक रोड रिलेटेड इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर टनेल अरू सोसियल हेल्थ रिलेटेड इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चरमा गभर्मेन्ट र डेभलपमेन्ट पार्टनरहरूको कन्ट्रिब्युसन भइरहेछ यसले हामीलाई के च्यालेन्ज दिइरहेछ भने पब्लिक डेट टु जिडिपी रेसियो एभ्री इयर इज काइन्ड अफ द गोइङ अन द अलार्मिङ रेट सो यही वर्ष नै झन्डै 42% छ यही विगतको ट्रेन्डलाई मात्र हेर्दा पनि 2030सम्म झन्डै 65% को पब्लिक डेट टु जिडिपी रेसियो छ त्यसलाई कन्ट्रोल गर्नुपर्ने एउटा के हो त त्यसलाई सर्भाइभ गर्नुपर्ने हाम्रो अर्को च्यालेन्जेस छ त्यसपछि थर्ड सेक्टर हाइड्रो पावर बाहेक अरू इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर सेक्टरमा किन आएन त भन्ने जुन डिस्कसन थियो, स्पेसल्ली कस्ट र टाइम ओभररन, त्यसपछि नट एभाइलेबिलिटी अफ द ब्याङ्केबल प्रोजेक्ट। हामीले जोसँग डिस्कसन गर्छौँ, फेडरल, प्रोभिन्सियल, लोकल जोसँग डिस्कसन गर्छौँ, दे डु हेभ अ लट अफ विस लिस्ट अफ द प्रोजेक्ट, बट विस लिस्टलाई मेटेरियलाइज गर्ने निदर दे डु हेभ अ बेटर इन्स्टिट्युसनल फ्रेमवर्क, निदर दे डु हेभ अ फाइनेन्सियल एरेन्जमेन्ट, केही पनि छैन। त्यसको लागि चाहिँ हामीले काम गर्नुपर्ने देखिन्छ। त्यसपछि पोलिसी इन्कन्सिस्टेन्सी छ, एउटा पोलिसीले अर्को पोलिसीलाई ओभरटेक गरिरहेको छ। त्यसपछि फोर्थ रिजन इज इन्ट्रेस्ट रेट भोलाटिलिटी। भनेपछि अब रिभाइभल कसरी गर्ने त? यो जुन च्यालेन्जेसहरू छ त्यो च्यालेन्जेसहरूलाई बेस गरेर तुरुन्तै रिभाइभ हुन सक्ने इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर के हो भने प्राइभेट सेक्टरको पार्टिसिपेसन इन इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर इज मोस्ट इम्पोर्टेन्ट। त्यो कन्टेक्स्टको लागि हामीले पिपिपीको एरेन्जमेन्ट, जुन पिपिपी भन्ने बित्तिकै हाम्रो थिङ्किङ के छ भने इट्स अ प्राइभेटाइजेसन। इट्स नट अ प्राइभेटाइजेसन, इट्स द जोइन्ट वर्क बिट्विन पब्लिक एन्ड प्राइभेट सेक्टर। त्यसलाई हामीले रिओरिएन्ट गर्नु पर्यो र जुन प्रोजेक्टहरूमा प्राइभेट सेक्टर एट्र्याक्ट हुँदैन त्यो प्रोजेक्टलाई एट्र्याक्ट गर्नको लागि क्रेडिट इन्हान्समेन्ट लाइक बिजिएफ, हाइब्रिड एन्युटी, ब्लेन्डेड फाइनेन्स ल्याएर त्यसलाई के हो त इमिडिएटली अगाडि बढाउन सक्यो भने अलिकति रिभाइभलमा हामी काम गर्न सक्छौँ। त्यसपछि हेजिङ इन्स्ट्रुमेन्ट, सबभन्दा ठुलो च्यालेन्ज चाहिँ विदेशी लगानी हामी कहाँ किन आएन भन्दाखेरि बिकज अफ हेजिङ हामीसँग छैन। किनकि अर्को कन्ट्रीको करेन्सी त्यो पनि भोलाटाइल भएको करेन्सीमा आएर उसले इन्भेस्ट गरेर उसले ब्याक जाँदा त एभ्री इयर करेन्सी डिप्रिसिएट भइरहेछ। त्यसले गर्दा हामीले एउटा हेजिङ सोल्युसन नट ओन्ली फरेक्स इन टर्म्स अफ द कन्स्ट्रक्सन इन्डस्ट्रीको लागि कमोडिटीको पनि हेजिङको रिक्वायरमेन्ट देखिएको छ र यसलाई हामीले रिभाइभ गर्न सक्ने देखिन्छ। त्यसपछि अर्को नेपाल, अब मोस्ट अफ द प्रोजेक्ट हाम्रो जति पनि अब मोस्टली रिन्युअल इनर्जी साइडमा हामी जुन काम गरिरहेछौँ, नेपाल के हो त भने क्लिन इनर्जी अथवा ग्रिन इनर्जीको म्यापमा आउन सक्ने एउटा चान्सेस हामीले एभ्री डे लुज गरिरहेछौँ। भनेपछि यसलाई चाहिँ हामीले इमिडिएटली के गर्नु पर्यो भने हामीलाई रिपोजिसन आवर सेल्फ इन द मार्केट एन्ड ट्यापिङ इन्क्रिज ग्रिन बोन्ड मार्केट। दिज थ्री आर द मेजर रिभाइभल स्ट्राटेजी which can be implemented immediately. Immediately means we are not talking about from tomorrow, but obviously we can think from today, start from tomorrow, and then it will be implemented in near future. For growth, obviously improve the credit worthiness of the government and instrumentality. जुन प्राइभेट सेक्टरहरू जुन प्यानलिस्ट हुनुहुन्थ्यो, प्यानलिस्ट प्राइभेट सेक्टरको रिप्रेजेन्टेसन जुन थियो, स्पेसल्ली उहाँहरूको मेजर कन्सर्न इज क्रेडिट वर्दिनेस अफ द गभर्मेन्ट एन्ड द पोलिसी इन्कन्सिस्टेन्सी। त्यसलाई हामीले चेन्ज गऱ्यौँ भने बल्ल के हो त रियल सेन्समा इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चरमा प्राइभेट सेक्टरको इन्भेस्टमेन्ट आउँछ। त्यसपछि इन्क्रिज द एभाइलेबिलिटी अफ लङ टर्म फाइनेन्सिङ। हाम्रो सबभन्दा ठुलो मिसम्याच नै के भइरहेछ भने मोस्टली इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर फाइनेन्सिङ वी आर इन्भेस्टिङ फ्रम द कमर्सियल ब्याङ्क डिपोजिट। जुन मिसम्याच डिफ्रेन्ट कन्ट्रीहरूले गरेर त्यसलाई रिओरिएन्ट गरिसके, हामी त्यही के हो त ट्रेडिसनल मेथडमा छौँ। त्यो ट्रेडिसनल मेथडलाई हामीले चेन्ज गरेर स्पेसली इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर बन्ड अथवा लङ टर्म बन्डहरूलाई अलिकति इन्सेन्टिभाइज गरेर त्यसलाई हामीले इन्करेज गर्नुपर्ने देखिन्छ। त्यसपछि अर्को ग्रोथ स्ट्राटेजी के हुनसक्छ भन्ने हाम्रो डिस्कसनबाट आयो भने इनेबल इन्भाइरोमेन्ट फर फरेन इन्भेस्टमेन्ट, स्पेसली रेजिलेन्ट। ग्रिन र रेजिलेन्ट इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर जुन डेभलप कन्ट्रीहरूको मेजर स्ट्राटेजिक थिम पनि हो, त्यो थिमलाई ट्याप इन गर्नको लागि हामीले फरेन इन्भेस्टमेन्टलाई इनेबलिङ इन्भाइरोमेन्ट दिनु पऱ्यो र अल्टिमेटली हामीले के हो त इनोभेसन, कटिङ एज टेक्नोलोजी र इनोभेसन इन कन्स्ट्रक्सन इन्डस्ट्री र इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर सेक्टरमा ल्याउन सक्यौँ भने बल्ल हाम्रो के हो त कम्पिटिटिभ रेट हुन्छ, हामीले इन्टरनेसनल मार्केटमा कम्पिट पनि गर्छ। जस्तो हामी इनर्जी सेक्टरमा के हो त हाम्रो इन्डियामा एक्सपोर्ट गर्न सकेनौँ भनिरहेछौँ बिकज अफ आवर कम्पिटिटिभ प्राइसिङ। किनकि जब हामीले त्यसलाई इन्टिग्रेसन गर्छौँ, त्यसलाई हामीले टेक्नोलोजी र इनोभेसनबाट हामीले अगाडि बढाउँछौँ, पक्कै पनि हाम्रो इनर्जी इन्डियन अथवा बङ्गलादेशी मार्केटमा पनि कम्पिटिटिभ हुनसक्छ। र त्यसैको बेसमा हाम्रो कन्क्लुजन के रह्यो भने कलेक्टिभ र मल्टिडिसिप्लिनरी एप्रोच चाहिँ रिक्वायर्ड छ फर द डेभलपमेन्ट अफ द इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर। एक्टर र डिरेक्टरको रोल सुड बी डिफाइन, सुड बी स्ट्रक्चर, र पोलिसी डिस्कोर्स इज रिक्वायर्ड स्पेसली अन द इन्स्टिट्युसनल फ्रेमवर्क। नेसनल इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्लान वान अफ द एजेन्डा हुनसक्छ। त्यसपछि इन्स्ट्रुमेन्ट, इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर बोन्ड, कमर्सियल ब्लेन्डिङ, हेजिङ, यी रिलेटेड र सेक्टरल इन्सेन्टिभ जुन अघि फर्स्ट स्लाइडमा जुन सर्भाइभलमा थियो, सेक्टरल पोलिसीले एउटा सेक्टरलाई सर्भाइभ गर्न सक्छ भने सेम रेप्लिकेसन अरू सेक्टरमा ल्याउन सक्यो भने पक्कै पनि अरू सेक्टर पनि फ्लोरिस हुनसक्छ। इन द इन्ड लास्टमा के हो भने पोजिटिभ रिओरिएन्टेसन नै चाहियो के हो त इन्फ्रास्ट्रक्चर डेभलपमेन्टको लागि. दिस इज द फाइनल कन्क्लुजन फ्रम आवर सेसन. थ्याङ्क यू भेरी मच.
Thank you, sir. Thank you indeed. About entrepreneurship satrabata, more session moderator, Sri Ranjit Acharya, CEO Prisma Advertising Lai, Manchma Bolauna Tahansa.
नमस्कार. हाम्रो सेसनमा हामीले दुईवटा डिस्क्लेमर सुरुमै अनाउन्स गरेर मात्रै सेसन सुरु गरेका थियौँ. पहिलो डिस्क्लेमर थियो हाम्रो सेसनमा आउनुभएका एन्टरप्रेन्योर बाहेकका अहिले जब गरिरहनु भएका जतिजना पनि पार्टिसिपेन्ट्सहरू हुनुहुन्थ्यो, यदि उहाँहरूले हाम्रो सेसन पछि जब छोडेर उद्यमशीलता आफ्नै केही काम गर्न थाल्नुभयो भने म्यान र हामीलाई चाहिँ कसैले पनि कम्प्लेन गर्न पाउँदैन भनेर फर्स्ट डिस्क्लेमर भनेका थियौँ. र दोस्रो डिस्क्लेमर हाम्रो प्यानलिस्ट र मैले एउटा अनाउन्स गरेको के थियो भन्दाखेरि हामी सरकारलाई गाली गर्दैनौँ. किनकि एन्टरप्रेन्योरसिप उद्यमशीलता भन्नासाथै सबैभन्दा पहिला हामी सरकारलाई नै गाली गर्न थाल्छौँ. हामी गाली गर्दैनौँ भनेका थियौँ. त्यसको कारण थियो केही गरेको भए पो गाली गर्ने, केही गरेकै छैन किन गाली गर्ने. सो यो दुईटा डिस्क्लेमर सहित हामीले हाम्रो सेसन अगाडि बढाएका थियौँ. सो रिइन्जिनियरिङ म्यानेजमेन्टको कन्टेक्स्टमा डेफिनेसन चेन्ज गर्नुपर्ने र वे फरवर्डको लागि डुइङ बिजनेसमा प्रोडक्टिभ भर्सेस अनप्रोडक्टिभ सेक्टरको हामीले छलफल गऱ्यौँ. र के एउटा निर्क्योल निक्ल्यो भने आजको अनप्रोडक्टिभ सेक्टर भोलिको लागि प्रोडक्टिभ भइरहेको अवस्था छ. कुनै बेलामा जुन सेक्टरलाई हामीले अनप्रोडक्टिभ भनिरहेका थियौँ, जुन बेलामा पहिलो पटक जब हाम्रो नेपालबाट माइग्रेन्ट वर्कर्सहरू बाहिर जान थालेका थिए यो चाहिँ अनप्रोडक्टिभ भयो भनिरहेका थियौँ भने आज आएर त्यो एकदमै प्रोडक्टिभ सेक्टर हुन गएको छ. सो त्यस्तै विभिन्न सेक्टरहरू विभिन्न कालखण्डमा प्रोडक्टिभ हुने भएको हुनाले हामीले यसलाई हेर्ने तरिका पनि अलिकति चेन्ज गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने एउटा छलफल भयो. त्यस्तै पब्लिक प्राइभेट पार्टनरसिपलाई अब चाहिँ उद्यमशीलतामा अगाडि लिएर आउनुपर्छ र यसलाई अलि बढी नै चासो देखाउनुपर्छ. सरकारले पनि चासो देखाउनुपर्छ र यसमा धेरै काम गर्नुपर्छ र प्राइभेट सेक्टरले पनि यसमा हातेमालो गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने कुरा आयो. र पोलिसी र इम्प्लिमेन्टेसनको जुन कुरा छ, हामी कहाँ पोलिसी नभएको होइन तर इम्प्लिमेन्टेसनमा देयर इज अलवेज अ च्यालेन्ज. सो वी talked about how policy should be not only announced but should be implemented in such a way that it helps entrepreneurship to grow and businesses to make sure that they do business at ease. Doing business को जुन context छ त्यसमा how easy it is to do business in Nepal भन्ने कन्टेक्स्टमा आजको दिनमा हामीले हाम्रो रिजनमा हाम्रो ऱ्याङ्किङ हेऱ्यौँ भने हामी धेरै तल छौँ. त्यो भएर यहाँनिर हाम्रो पोलिसी र इम्प्लिमेन्टेसनमा काम गर्नुपर्ने देखियो. र सँगसँगै टेक्नोलोजिकल चेन्जेसहरू जुन भइरहेछ त्यसको युज अझ प्रपरली गर्न सकियो भने रिइन्जिनियरिङ हुनसक्छ भन्ने हाम्रो एउटा छलफल भएको थियो. In terms of survival, achieving sustainability through import substitution of raw materials भन्ने कुराहरू आयो. हामीले थुप्रै र मटेरियल्सहरूलाई इम्पोर्ट गरिरहेका छौँ जुन हामीसँगै उपलब्ध छ. ती उपलब्ध भएका र मटेरियल्सलाई पनि हामी बाहिरबाट इम्पोर्ट गरिरहेका छौँ. त्यसलाई सब्स्टिट्युट गर्नुपर्छ भन्ने एउटा सर्भाइभल गर्नको लागि चाहिँ त्यसलाई सब्स्टिट्युट गरौँ भन्ने कुरा भयो. प्रोएक्टिभ सपोर्ट फ्रम द गभर्मेन्टको साइडबाट रिएक्टिभ सपोर्ट मात्रै भएको छ, प्रोएक्टिभ सपोर्टै भएको छैन. सो देयर हेज टु बी प्रोएक्टिभ सपोर्ट फ्रम गभर्मेन्ट साइड फर डुइङ बिजनेस इन नेपाल. सो त्यो रिएक्टिभ सपोर्ट भएन. कहीँ काम बिग्रिएपछि कम्प्लेन भएपछि त्यसमा रियाक्सन गरेर त्यसलाई ठिक बनाउनुभन्दा काम बिग्रिनुभन्दा पहिला नै प्रोएक्टिभली त्यो सिचुएसनलाई ट्याकल गर्न सकियो भने देन द्याट क्यान बी एन्करेजिङ इन्भाइरोमेन्ट फर बिजनेसेस भन्ने कुरा आयो. र cost of doing business, one of the biggest challenge for Nepal, all of us, private sector, हाम्रो cost of doing business is one of the highest in our region. अनि यसलाई घटाउनको लागि infrastructure development is one of the key factors. And त्यहाँनिर intervention जरुरी छ. यदि हाम्रो transportation cost of goods does not come down, then our cost of doing business will always remain high. हाम्रो ट्रान्सपोर्टेसन डिस्ट्रिब्युसन र ट्रान्सपोर्टेसनको कस्ट जुन छ नेपालमा त्यो अलमोस्ट 25 to 30% of the product छ, which is like 5 times than any other country. We need to look into this because we have challenges in infrastructure, basically road and transport. That's where we are suffering. So cost of doing business should come down. Infrastructural development, as I talked about it, and investment in R&D, which is every government ले गरिरहेको काम हो यो. Private sector को लागि support mechanism मा research and development मा government ले कुनै पनि intervention गरेको छैन, त्यहाँ investment छैन. यहाँ investment आउनु जरुरी छ. Then only we can look at surviving through this and then moving forward. In terms of revival, collaboration between sectors, हाम्रो सेक्टर्सहरू सबै आफ्नो आफ्नो साइलोमा काम गरिरहेको छ. यो कोलाबोरेसन क्रिएट गर्यो भने पनि हामीले रिभाइभ गर्नको लागि हामीलाई सजिलो हुन्छ. पिभट टु द राइट टाइम ड्युरिङ क्राइसिस, लाइक क्राइसिस आउँदै गर्दा कहिलेकाहीँ क्राइसिसले थुप्रै अपर्च्युनिटिज पनि क्रिएट गरिरहेको हुन्छ. नेपालमा कोभिडको कन्टेक्स्टमा डिजिटल ट्रान्सफर्मेसन जुन भएको छ त्यो मेबी हामी 2025 मा जहाँ पुग्थ्यौँ त्यो हामी पुश भएर अहिले नै पुगिसकेका छौँ. सो यस्तो टाइपको क्राइसिसले लिएर आउने चेन्जेसहरूलाई पिगी राइड गरेर हामीले बिजनेसेसहरूमा कहीँ न कहीँ अपर्च्युनिटिजहरू जेनेरेट गर्नुपर्ने त्यो एउटा अर्को छलफल हामीले गऱ्यौँ. इफेक्टिभ एन्ड एफिसियन्ट युटिलाइजेसन अफ रिसोर्सेस, हामीसँग भएको रिसोर्सेसको एफिसियन्ट युटिलाइजेसन भएको छ जस्तो छैन. हामीले सल्लाह के गऱ्यौँ भने नेपालले यदि बाहिरबाट 70 रुपियाँ केजीको आलु मगाएर खानुपर्छ भने नेपालीले त्यो आलु खाँदा हुन्छ. तर नेपालमा फलाएको आलुलाई हामीले बाहिर पठाउँदा चाहिँ नि 400 रुपियाँ केजीमा पठाउन सक्नु पर्यो, किनकि नेपालमा जुन आलु पाइन्छ या फल्छ त्यो आलुको भ्याल्यु नो वान क्यान डिनाई द्याट anywhere else in the world, कहीँ पनि पाइँदैन. So why can't we create value for our product and export them outside and import products from outside in cheaper price? Why can't we do that? It is possible to do. नेपालीले चामल चाहिँ 200 रुपियाँमा बाहिरबाट मगाएर खाने, तर नेपालबाट लुम्बिनीमा फलेको चामललाई होली राइस भनेर 10,000 रुपियाँ per kg मा वर्ल्ड वाइड सप्लाई गर्ने. This is the kind of interventions that we talked about. Capitalize on the digital platform. I don't need to explain much. जुन digital platform create भएको छ त्यसलाई capitalize गर्न सक्नु पर्यो र effective government at all levels. It is not only about central government. अब हामीसँग province government छ र local government छ. Every level मा taxations, every level मा interventions ले business को cost of doing business एकदमै हाई हुँदै गइरहेको छ. त्यो भएर every ठाउँमा effective यो channelize हुनु जरुरी देखिन्छ. Am I changing the slide or someone else? Okay. Growth. Investment in human resource, one of the biggest challenge for us. We do have human resource which is untrained. Our expertise create भएको छैन. We need to invest on human resource so that our own human resource can be much more productive than what it is right now. Quality over quantity, I spoke about it. Let's promote quality that we can create from Nepal. We cannot compete in quantitative terms with China or India kind of market, but if we're looking at quality products, we can definitely make a difference. बाहिरबाट साग किनेर खाऊँ तर नेपालमा लेमन ग्रास को खेती गरौँ ताकि लेमन ग्रास को essential oil we can export outside. Technological advancement and opportunities, I have spoken about it, and strong entrepreneurial ecosystem which is missing. We have a lot of startups coming up. We don't have definition of a startup. We don't have policy for a startup from government side. We need definition. We need to define what is startup. We need to have policy for startups. ब्याङ्क्सहरूलाई हामीले स्टार्टअपलाई लोन दिनै पर्छ भनेर बाध्यकारी नियम त लगाएका छौँ, तर को चाहिँ स्टार्टअप हो भनेर हामीले डिफाइन गरेका छैनौँ. सो देयर इज some kind of catch-22 situation which we need to mitigate. Integrated network of sectors, like the sectors need to integrate with each other and create that network which helps businesses to foster and grow. That's what we feel that can happen in growth. So in conclusion, research and development, of course, investment in technology. For big, large infrastructure, we need to invite international developers and give them that opportunity to invest in Nepal. Affordable technical human resource, effective policy and implementation, as well as value chain development. If we can do this, then entrepreneurial journey for Nepal or the entrepreneurs that we are looking at can be a dream come true. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, Ranjit sir. Thank you indeed. आदरणीय महानुभावहरू, नेक्स्ट सेसन स्वास्थ्य रहेको छ. स्वास्थ्य क्षेत्रका निचोडहरू हामी माझ राखिदिनु हुनको लागि म सेसन मोडरेटर मेडिकल काउन्सिलका अध्यक्ष डाक्टर भगवान कोइरालाज्यूलाई मञ्चमा आमन्त्रण गर्दछु.
It was great sitting in the health sector session and trying to listen from a very renowned and experienced speakers. I don't think I've done justice to those speakers who have spoken extensively on how could we survive during the time of pandemic and how do we re-engineer management and have a potential for growth in health sector. But I'll try to be short. Frankly, Manu, 5 minute time dinu bhako थियो. I think everybody is taking time, but I don't want to be standing here between you and the dinner, so I'll still keep it between 5 minutes, okay? So, the summary of all 4 presentations in our session was, if we have to re-engineer the management in health sector, we have to start thinking of value-based care. What that means is give the best possible outcome and the quality in healthcare with the minimum possible investment and expenditure. The biggest challenge we face so far, and we need to look at the future by encouraging the whole team to give the best, and that's a team-based approach, and I think that's the best way to survive also in the times of pandemic and crisis. And as spoken before, newer strategies, use of IT, telemedicine, infection prevention protocols, and others were quite extensively used during pandemic, and I think this will remain in our engineering, in our managerial science in health sector in future. And one of the important things that we talked about is when we go further, combining not just the treatment part of the healthcare delivery, but also having research, academics, and public health components together in institutions will make it more sustainable and probably more productive to the health of the nation. Of course, we talked about national or otherwise insurance in health. It's in very primitive stage. The biggest problem we face in health sector today is poor relationship between doctors and patients, between healthcare workers and the patients. Largely, in my view, and I think our panelists agreed to that, is because the payment modality is created such, it's not artificially created, but artificially not mitigated, is they have to pay out of pocket at the time of delivery of care. The out-of-pocket expenditure is actually 58% at the time of delivery today in Nepal. It's not more than that, as was spoken, but that creates a lot of problem. Nobody walks with tons of money and cash in the pocket. So that's something that we need to promote, and I think this is a great forum to talk about how do we promote other models of health insurance. Coming up, national health insurance is there, but again, kind of limping, trying to expand across the nation. But I think this is a major step forward if we can pull it off right. And the biggest thing that we face today in healthcare is lack of true leadership across the institutions, small, big, public, private, all. And I think we need to talk about investing in leadership. And what that means is you train them, not just train them, but also allow them to grow, allow them to stay in position for some time, have less political interference in selection, that there be merit-based selection and authorization of that guy. So I think, that person. So investing in leadership and creating a team of future managers is extremely important, and succession planning in public institutions seems to be critical. That's less of a problem in private. Survival, we need to retain good people. I think this is the biggest challenge that healthcare sector faces, especially in nursing and other paramedic areas, including the best brains of the doctors. They go out, not just because of our situation, but also because there are very lucrative jobs available in the world pretty easily now. And we need to redistribute resources, especially in the times of crisis. We need to know how to put money in, where to put money in. The resources have to be allocated to which are the most productive and keep the institution surviving, and if not, allowing to grow. And of course, keep the institution alive means that there is a potential for revival afterwards. And you have to restructure the internal management. As I said before, unless you restructure internal management at times of crisis, they would just crumble. Revival, well, I think there can be a lot of debate on this. It's my take. Even my panelists may not agree on this 100%. But looking at the future, one of the ways to kind of mitigate the imbalance between quality care versus access of people is always an imbalance. Public institutions are poorly managed, they have access, they give access to people, but they don't maintain the quality. At the same time, our private institutions are great, but somehow people cannot access because a lot of other things that we understand. One of the ways is create a model of social entrepreneurship with cross-subsidy, and many of those nonprofits have been doing this. I'm not sure that's a right model in terms of investment, but that's certainly a right model for long-term, health, especially in the healthcare sector. That's a long-term model that could be one of the ways to go. Autonomy of institution is an extremely important thing. If we intervene at every stage of the growth, I think the institution cannot grow. That also means that we depoliticize them. Well, we mean, do the politicians mean it? Incentivizing or enforcing protocols and guidelines. That's something that we keep talking, and Medical Council will work from its own side to incentivize those institutions and doctors who would follow protocols, checklists, and follow the standardized protocols of treatment. Growth, well, there's a big controversy in our policy. In one page we write incentivize investment in health. In the end of the same page or the next page we write convert for-profit model into a non-profit model. There is a kind of tricky statements in our own policies, but I think if we really want to have a growth, we need to somehow incentivize investment in growth. That means that there will be more investment, but there will also be fee structures changed, there will be questions. Again, I think it comes again back to the payment modality of ensuring people, if we can promote that, then paying capacity of people is going to be better, and the return will be reasonable for those who invest. Investing in leadership is the way to grow, at least in health sector, and by selecting the right character, competence, and charisma, quality, cost, and supply chain of generic medicine. And there's a lot to talk about in medicine, production, supply chain, and their branding and distribution. One thing that we agreed that if we really look at it carefully, the cost of medicine will go down. And today, two-thirds of the cost of healthcare goes to buy medicines in health. So there is a lot to talk about in terms of reducing the cost, yet keep the quality at the highest standards. And we need to practice, all institutions need to practice, be it public or private, on total quality management. That means that we not just follow the protocols, but also improve upon them on an everyday, daily basis. I think these were the key points that we talked about today, and hopefully this will be useful for those who are thinking of investing, working, and serving health institutions in the country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you indeed for your very valuable sharing. Next, from the Banking and Financial Institutions session, I have the pleasure of inviting Ms. Barsha Shrestha, senior banker and senior business head, ICRA Nepal, who fills in for the session moderator, Mr. Anil Keshwari Shah, the CEO of Nabel Bank. Madam, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. To share by default, I'm here today because Anupama did not join this event. And again, by default, I'm here. Anil Shah is not around. So I hope I don't make any mistakes. Anyway, thank you so much. And Anil Shah started the session saying, save yourself and save customer. That he was, one of the governor had said, and he really liked it. And he said, like, we have to not only save the banks, but we have to save our customers. That's how we survive. And keeping the confidence of the business intact, definitely, the economy definitely falls, depends upon the financial institutions, how we support the customers to revive your business, to move, to grow your business. It's financial institutions, they really, they act upon it. Yeah, we had a discussion like, there is a lot of unhealthy competitions among the financial institutions because they are given targets. The CEOs are, the CEOs are given targets to make a lot of profits. That's what all the shareholders want, a lot of dividend and the bonus shares. So I would like to name Bhuvan Dahal, the former CEO of Sanima Bank and president of Nepal Bankers Association. He did advise to NRB, like, if there could be, punishment or reward to the banks, how they are working. And, there's a healthy competition, or the banking or the lending is in the right directions. Survival during the COVID, it was a very difficult time for everyone. And even the financial institutions, they were worried about the, getting back the money, letting the customers do their business and revive. But there were monetary policy, and NRB did come out with a lot of good policies to support the customers, like regarding the interest, the installments. It was restructured, the loans were restructured, and there were no penalties applied, and all those things helped, so the banks survived. And even the customers, in fact, we were told, like, the first year was bad, but after the second year, they made a lot of profits. Anyone borrowing 2 crores and above made enough profits, so they all survived. All the banks, despite COVID, they were everyone was worried about the infection and all that, but the financial institution ensured the staff were there, and they remained open for the branches. Everyone remained open, and the services were available, which was really good for everyone. Okay, this is regarding the growth. What we have discussed is, like, since I come from rating agency, anyone who, there are different kind of ratings being done, but depending upon the ratings, we have discussed, like, the interest to be charged on the customers, or like the good ratings should get better interest rate from the banks. That's how it would help the customers to come for ratings. To conclude, again, we discussed, like, there should not be unhealthy competition among the banks, and there should not be stringent targets, so that they would go for sustainable banking. According to Mr. Rameshwar ji, like, there are a lot of grants, and there are grants in the pipeline, but what has been suggested is like, instead of going for the grants that, we should go for the projects that completes on time, easy projects, so that the foreign currency is here, and we make the best use of it, instead of having a long-term projects, so that helps the economy to keep moving. It was advised the commercial banks have research department, because we don't know where the money is going, in which sector. हाम्रो चाहिँ कस्तो भइरहेछ भने धेरै a lot of lending, even from rating point of view, what we know is lending is going directly or indirectly in real estate. कुनै पनि व्यापार चाहिँ गरिरहेछ, project is there, but the value of the project is less, but the cost for the real estate is very high. अनि व्यापारीहरू या व्यवसायमा चाहिँ के छ भने यो company या यो project डुबे तापनि तर त जुन property को value छ त्यसको चाहिँ value ले गर्दा they make money. So that should not be there because that discourages many good customers to come to the bank and they're not getting loan. So all this was discussed. And also we talked about having encouraging small and medium enterprises, supporting them, and to have more of local products instead of importing. And this definitely keeps the money in-house. Nepalमै नै पैसा बसोस् र अलिक local productsहरूलाई चाहिँ support गरेर I mean luxury itemsहरूलाई चाहिँ like it's already been done by NRB, you know, the LCs are being stopped for so many items, similar to be done. So this was our conclusion. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I was little. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for this wonderful sharing. Apologies, alikati slide orange in Matthew Tolamathi bheko bhayo. Apologies for this glitch. Anyways, so as we prepare to proceed forward, my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, of inviting up on stage to share with us the key takeaways from the tourism session. The moderator himself, the head of Practice Tourism UK-based Dolma Consulting Private Limited, Mr. Upal Majumdar.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So, all of you have known me in the role of a hotelier, but it's nice to be on the other side and be a financier and, you know, fund projects. So it was an interesting session which I had on tourism, which is so vital for Nepal. In the morning, we had Dr. Bindu Lohani speaking about in his keynote address that 7% contribution to GDP comes from tourism, and that has dropped drastically. So in re-engineering management, what we said is tourism is the 4th largest industry by employment, and that is what has dropped drastically. But the good news is that it's coming back, and we see a lot of advertisements now from hotels wanting to hire people back who they'd got rid of in the past 2 years. Largest contributor to GDP and foreign exchange reserve of the country. Both the things is what our country needs, and tourism contributes to that. So more foreign tourists coming in, and we get our foreign exchange coming in too. A lot of business process innovation today is required, and what the panelists felt was that the processes, many of them need to get re-engineered and definitely improve effectiveness and profitability by lowering cost. So one of the things is if your profit is down, how are you going to manage lower cost and take care of those areas? So that's what we got in re-engineering. Then in terms of survival, so this is an interesting slide which we had shared, where we found that this is how globally impact what happened to tourism. Where international tourism moved down from 1.5 billion to less than 402 million, which started improving in 2021. And similarly for the gross domestic product, which came down by more than half. Tourism share of world GDP, which was at 4%, came down by 50%, but it's improving. From 1.8%, it's gone to 2%. And of course, the tourism international export revenues, and Nepal shares similar kind of figures. So that's really where the survival thing is happening. But the good news is, as you can see, it's all going up. Revival, we had some interesting debates in Revival amongst the panelists. So one was, of course, this big focus which we need on domestic tourism. And yes, some of the panelists did mention domestic tourism not going to get you foreign exchange, but I'm sure it still brings the money into business and it grows. Cutting cost and adding value. So this is again something where the different tourism associations could also take up best practices sharing amongst the tourism players. The other important thing which happened in Revival is this use of digital technology, and the Nepal Tourism Board did a brilliant thing by bombarding all the various digital media and which led to Nepal getting rated in the top 10 destinations to visit in 2022. So I think that's a big thing for Nepal. Of course, opportunity to rebrand Nepal as a destination for wellness and for recharging. You know, there's a new term which has got coined called revenge tourism. People have got fed up of being locked up at home and everybody wants to go out. So if we can tap into that and take this, you know, the wellness route forward is going to make a very, very big difference. You know, most of Nepal's tourism is outdoor tourism, while in other places it's indoor tourism. So if you go to Dubai, you're spending more time indoors. You come to Nepal, you actually don't have too many indoor places except hotel halls like these. So it's all outdoor, which is really what we look forward to in a COVID world. And of course, so revival is restore, refurbish, regenerate. That was the mantra what we look forward for revival. Moving forward to growth. One of the things is that we still just look at managing or marketing destinations, and a lot of our tourism is focused towards that. But where it is going to is, and that's what the panelists felt for growth, we have to go into more wholesome experiences, talk about more immersive experiences, and Nepal has a lot to offer, even in terms of authentic thing of what is there. Even in a domestic tourism, if you travel to different parts of Nepal, you actually experience very different cultures, food, practices, and all of those are going away because we don't go and promote those. So this was one of the things which the panelists felt made a difference for growth. Of course, capacity building, there are a lot of new tourism owners which are coming in. In my audience, we had a lot of bankers who are very concerned about how they're going to get their money back because, you know, how it's going down. And one of the things was, one of our panelists actually put a question back to the bankers saying, you know, when you invested, did you check all these things? All right. So it's a very interesting combination of where a lot of new entrepreneurs are getting into tourism, but even the bankers and financiers can actually look at working in terms of consulting mode so that they can help them take the right decisions in terms of the investment rather than look at it more as a pure real estate investment. And that was one thing which came out. And also look at the unorganized and the micro sector tourism, especially rural tourism, homestays, and professionalizing all of them, because today you want to go and take part in a local tourism and get into immersive culture, but you still have to be safe and you shouldn't fall sick after that. Okay. Developing Nepal as a film shooting destination. That is again something, you know, which can get done. But as one of the panelists pointed out, to shoot one film in Nepal, you need 30 permissions. All right, and it's virtually impossible to get them. And then to get all your camera equipment in, because most of it is high-tech, digital cameras, and then to take it out itself is a big thing. So if we could simplify all of that, it would be really nice, and you could actually get a lot of Bollywood films being shot in Nepal rather than them going to Switzerland or Dubai or to those kind of places. And one film gets us huge visibility in the world. Also, a lot of debate happened on Nepal Airlines and, corporatizing it, that it should run and make profits, not from ground handling, but actually from running operations. And in that was about getting in financial feasibility. A big thing why we don't get a lot of foreign exchanges, that about 78% of our tourists are actually carried by foreign airlines. So people pay to come to Nepal, but that foreign exchange doesn't come into Nepal. But if you could have a more viable model for Nepal Airlines. For example, we had the former Director General of Civil Aviation, and what he mentioned was that we bought 4 aircrafts and on loans, and I think there is a big thing about how are we paying back those loans back to the Provident Fund and the Citizens Fund. But in case we we leased those aircrafts with a similar amount of expense, we could have got about 15 aircrafts, and the resultant revenues of that would have made a big impact. So the way to go forward is to take more aircrafts on lease, and then even for the government outgo is to keep 3-month lease. That's what you need to keep as a money thing, and the airline has to generate that kind of revenue. So not only does it get us our tourists, connectivity to different destinations, but also gets in valuable foreign exchange, which comes into Nepal. Another very interesting thing which came was about corporate workshops. I know that, when I worked with corporate earlier, that we all look at a nice training in a foreign destination. But why can't we do that in Nepal? For example, I don't know how many of you have been to the Mustang region, and very, in a very joking manner, it said that if you do a trek from Lukla to maybe up to Namche Bazaar and back, you could probably lose about 10 kgs on that trek. So it's also healthy, So a lot of corporate, team building, so many training programs could actually be held in the country. It would also, lead to a lot of growth in tourism and keeping that money in Nepal and funding all these tourism companies, because then you get tourism, food and beverage, transport, and all of these businesses become very quickly viable, and they're able to pay back all the loans which they have taken from different corporates. Of course, we spoke about what kind of way the government can help. And of course, the traditional things like certain subsidies, a limited period rebates. So one of the things which was quite interesting was nobody said we want free money. We want some rebates, and especially, tourism is a very capital-intensive industry. So if those could get incentivized somewhere, like it is, so some of those came as this thing. And of course, Nepal has probably the highest, ATF fuel. The ATF is the fuel we put in aircrafts, and most of our tourists all come by air. And we are the most expensive airport and most expensive fuel, which is nearly 50 to 100% more in terms of any other locations around us. Now, due to this airfares going up, and they've already gone up in the world due to the fuel prices going up, so a ticket from Europe or the US has actually more than doubled in price in the past, say, 4 months. And that again leads to the destination not being attractive, very expensively priced for them to come here. So that's again something we could look at doing. And a single window clearance again for new tourism projects. So there can be adventure tourism. There's so many other tourism in the world which can come in. And that's what can take things forward. We also looked at, and this is the last point, ladies and gentlemen, on an image building strategy to endorse Nepal as a year-round destination. So what we all felt was that everybody knows about Nepal being a religious destination. So all Hindus want to come to Muktinath and Pashupatinath, and the Buddhists want to go to Lumbini. And these are, well known, and that tourist circuit is still happening. And if somebody comes even on a business trip to Kathmandu, say, he'll probably make a visit to Pashupatinath if he's a Hindu. So what we were looking at was, just besides doing our mountains and our religious sites, which are fairly well known, and that's really where you're getting all this business. The mayor of Solukhumbu was talking to somebody, and he mentioned that we are nearly at 60% business just currently, just now, of what it was in 2019. You'll be very pleased to know that in the first 3 months of this year, we've already done 50% of tourism arrivals of what we did in the whole year. So it's all coming back, and these are traditional things. But what else does Nepal have to offer? And if we could do, some more image building techniques around that and promote that, and that would make a lot of difference. So a digital interaction, celebrity endorsements, encouraging international events to be hosted here. So many of you in corporates, you are in joint venture companies. If you could get your companies to do your hosting here in Nepal, that would make a lot of difference and really put us on the tourism map. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Shri Vibhushan Bishtajulai, म स्टेजमा आमन्त्रण गर्दछु.
Thank you very much. And I just went outside and I was informed that the bar is not going to open before I finish my presentation, so please bear with me. And it was really interesting to see everyone talking about technology. So in our panel, what we discussed was, it was primarily focused around local companies and their managerial competency from the perspective of local market, where now our IT companies are competing with global MNCs in the local market. And it was also, the discussion was also based on the fact that our companies based in Nepal are competing in the international market with international competitors. So from that perspective, हाम्रो management approach कस्तो हुनुपर्छ त, के हुनुपर्छ for survival, revival, growth भन्ने एरियामा चाहिँ हामीले फोकस गरेका थियौँ. So, and this is what technology can do to me as well. So re-engineering management, our entire discussion topic for us, re-engineering management was about
creating competitive advantage for your companies by solving problems that matters to you the most. It's not just about following some jargons अरूले के गरेछ भन्दा पनि मैले managerial skills र competency मेरो कम्पनीको यस्तो बनाउनु पर्यो कि I am able to solve the problem by hook or by crook. That is what re-engineering management should be about, rather than going into like this is what others have done. And then if you know how to identify the problem, you've got to have the competency to solve it, and that is what re-engineering management should be about. Yes. So survival. एकदमै ठुलो challenge. Everyone talks about technology, but technology sector ma सबभन्दा ठुलो challenge is around human resource. I don't know, this was also discussed in the panel, but I don't know about other sectors. Hamroमा चाहिँ people stay for only 3 years. Out of that first 6 months, you have to train them. And if we can make them deliver for next 2.5 hours, we should consider ourselves successful. So त्यो कन्टेक्स्टमा हामीले कसरी सर्भाइभ गर्ने त भन्दाखेरि we are not trying to focus on national problems. हुन्छ नि कसरी ब्रेन ड्रेन भइरहेछ त्यसलाई रोक्न के गर्छ is not in the managerial competency of individual companies. Rather, we want to see how we can incentivize to make the most out of that 2.5 years that we get from new recruits. And that is how we should be framing our management arguments. And we have to be 5 years ahead of time. We do not know what's going to happen next. हैन तर हामीले चाहिँ constantly हाम्रो managerial approach चाहिँ यस्तो हुनुपर्छ कि we are updated of what's happening in Silicon Valley, what's happening in Africa, in similar economies in Eastern Europe, whatever, right? And we are operating in a market where our market is not homogeneous. Rural areas, just for example, e-commerce companies like Sasto Deal, for them, they have to tap into rural market versus urban market. So त्यो heterogeneous एउटा clientele groupलाई address गर्न, we need to build our managerial competency, and that is how we can survive भन्ने कुरा भएको थियो भने local market companies, global companies coming to Nepal and where we have to compete मा चाहिँ एउटै factor that has worked for all the panelists, हाम्रो F1 Softबाट, Sasto Dealबाट हामीले कुरा गर्दाखेरि के देख्यो भने we need to focus on value creation. Forget about they are $1 billion company. हामीले उनीहरुसँग कहाँ कम्पिट गर्न सक्छौं भन्ने एटिट्युड भन्दा let's go and solve some problem where we create value to the customers, and that is the only way where we can compete with them भनेर म्यानेजमेन्टको टर्म्सबाट चाहिँ त्यो कुरा भएको थियो. And local marketमा चाहिँ lower pricing strategy नेपालमा चाहिँ सस्तो गरौँ भन्ने मात्र हैन कि we need to focus on value realization so that we can come to your banks and say like this is a pricey solution but this is the return on investment that you get भनेपछि हाम्रो managerial competency चाहिँ त्यता जानुपर्छ, त्यसरी मात्रै सर्भाइभ गर्न सकिन्छ भन्ने कुरा भएको थियो. अलिकति सर्भाइभ चाहिँ हामी कुन कन्टेक्स्टमा गर्न परिरहेछ भने policies specifically related to IT companies मा चाहिँ हाम्रो नेपालमा policies-हरु कसरी भइरहेछ भन्दाखेरि local companies in the local market को लागि policy intervention हुन्छ. When the same intervention is applied to a company that is competing in Canada or in Spain, हाम्रो चाहिँ हामीलाई we are not best benefited out of that thing. So त्यो कन्टेक्स्टमा चाहिँ it is up to the companies to survive on their own भन्ने. Yes. Now revive को कुरामा चाहिँ जस्तै mindset of the buyers has changed, and it is changing at a very fast pace thanks to COVID-19. हैन digital payment, digital adoption को चाहिँ mindset change भएको छ. So that is some very positive for companies offering local product and services to revive. HR issues मा हामीले revive गर्दाखेरि yes मैले 2.5 years को चाहिँ हाम्रो productive time that we need to get भनेर भने अघि नै हैन. त्यसमा के गर्नुपर्छ त भन्दा हामीले धेरैको strategy चाहिँ we create our own supply chain for human resource. Fresh student like कसरी train गर्ने, के चीजमा train गर्ने, कसरी 6 महिना भित्र उलाई billable resource बनाउने, productive resource बनाउने, त्यसपछि 2.5 years मा they leave, and how do we maintain rapport with the colleges, सबै चीज चाहिँ हामीले त्यसरी चाहिँ revive गर्नुपर्छ. एउटा local ecosystem चाहिँ every single company has to do, and that is how we build our managerial competency भन्ने कुरा भएको थियो. अर्को चाहिँ international companies-हरुसँग survive गर्ने एउटा तरिका हामीले revive गर्ने तरिका भनेको चाहिँ quick adaptability. For example, what does that mean, Manda? There's a bank that has a solution that has been provided by some international companies. If you want to change something, it is difficult for you because the international product ko chahi after protocol huncha change request ko like. That is where local companies can actually take advantage by saying that we are responsive enough to fix the problem that you have. So you don't have to wait for another 6 months to roll out a new feature. And that adaptability is our revival strategy in terms of management. Next, growth. Because IT sector is all about human resource, and so we have to create environment for retention. How do we create? We just have to experiment and figure it ourselves. We need to tap into the rural market because 70 to 80% of the technology B2C customer is still untapped, and we need to tap into that one. We have to create joint ventures with international companies, bring them as our partners or participate with them in international bidding, so on and so forth, so that we can grow. Understanding the local context and solving micro problems that we face in our companies. That should be our managerial approach to, rather than trying to say that we're going to solve the problem of entire country. Solve your primary problems, and that is how you can grow. Last but not the least, the most important point is, what is मेरो companyको competitive advantage के हो? Focus area के हो? र त्यसमा कसरी grow? मैले चाहिँ how can I grow further भन्ने strategy चाहिँ individual companies ले गर्नुपर्छ, and that is what our management regime should be भनेर चाहिँ, this is what we have identified. And thanks a lot. I would really like to thank all my panelists for this, for whatever we have presented so far. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vishnu. Thank you so much for ending or wrapping this up so well. And thank you one more time to the moderators and panelists. Can we all hear it for all of them one more time, ladies and gentlemen?